Hey guys, Kelly here for Bradley Surplus and BradleySurplus.com. We're starting a new segment, and that's the Bradley's Mailbag, where you can write in, you can ask us questions, and we will answer anything that you want to know. Now I'm kicking things off today with the difference between military patterns. Now a lot of civilians are like, what the heck is the difference between ACU, DCU, OCP? And I'm here to clear all of that up. Now let's start with an older era, which is going to be your olive drab or your pickle suit. Now this was popular during the Vietnam era. You don't see it a lot, but you see it in movies, so I just thought I'd briefly let you know what that is. Here we have DCU, which stands for Desert Combat Uniform. Now this was popular during the Desert Storm era. As you can see, it has that sand color, so it will blend really well in those areas. You'll note here that we have buttons, and you also have the space where you can sew on your name and your U.S. Army. Now back then, they didn't sew or do any Velcro to their ranks and such. What they did was use stay black pin-on rank. So on your DCU and your BDU, which I'll get to in a second, you would use stay black. Now we move on to one of the most popular, which is the BDU. That stands for Battle Dress Uniform. Now, much like the DCU, it comes in two different styles, and that's going to be your summer weight, ripstop, and your winter weight, which is a polycotton blend. It's heavier, and much like the DCU, the BDU also has, you'll see, buttons in the front, and you sew on your name and your U.S. Army. You also would use your stay black on your BDU, and a lot of people also know this as woodland camo, and it is super popular with civilians, great for hunting. So although this went out in the mid-2000s, civilians and military both still love it, so it is a very popular style. Now we're going to move on to a very controversial pattern, and that is ACU, Army Combat Uniform. Now, not a lot of people love this. It went in during the Iraqi and Afghan era. And you'll see here it's got sand and foliage green. Now, the main difference between this and the suits of bygone are going to be your Velcro. It's Velcro all day and night, you guys, with this uniform. Now, instead of using the stay black ranks, you'd Velcro your U.S. Army and your name, as well as your ranks. Now, this has a digital pattern as opposed to all the other uniforms which use a like blobby pattern, splotches, digital. Not a lot of people love this, but luckily it's going out, so we won't have to see too much more of it. Now, you have a couple of different kinds of ACUs. You have your traditional ones that you get issued, but you also have Aircrew A2 flight uniforms, and these have more zippers, as you can see, and they also have a Velcro on the side where you can adjust the tabs to make it a little bit tighter, because with flight uniforms you want to make sure stuff's not flopping around, right? You also have a FRAC-U, which stands for Flame Resistant ACU. Now these were treated with an insect repellent, so they have a different tint. It's going to be a little more pinkish than the regular ACU, so that's really how you're going to tell them apart. Now, let's move on to the good stuff. The current issue is Multicam or OCP. OCP stands for Operational Camouflage Pattern, and there are two active operational camouflage patterns right now, but I'll get to the other one in a second. This one is Multicam. As you can see, much like the ACU, it's got Velcro for your name, your army, your rank, and such, and it's got this kind of like ripstop material where if you look closely you can see just lines and patterns that almost look like the grid fleece patterns, and we'll show you a close-up of that. You can Velcro it on and off here. So you see it is pretty similar to the ACU, but a way better pattern in my opinion, well, and everybody else's, because we love the Multicam actually. Now this also comes in the A2, which again to reference is that pajama type feeling flight uniform. So you can get that in either traditional or flight. But again, people don't really get issued the flight unless you are flight. So as I said, there are two different operational camouflage patterns. There's Multicam and the Scorpion. Now the Multicam is going to be phased out here in a little while to make way for the Scorpion exclusively, but that won't be for another year or so. Now much like the Multicam, you can sew your name, your U.S. Army, your rank, and your skill badges. It also has a little bit different colors. Now, this has a bark brown instead of a dark brown, and it has a darker green, whereas the Multicam has a little bit more of a foliage feel. Also, the main difference between the Multicam and the Scorpion is the Multicam has